Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. I hope you guys are all doing very well. In today's video, we're going to be talking about fashion rules that need to die immediately. Because I've been thinking a lot about rules and where they come from and how they kind of affect our personal style and how they affect fashion and how they also affect our perception of what's in fashion and what's stylish. And to be honest with you, if we all followed the rules that we commonly are presented with in fashion and in society, the world will be a very, very boring place. And I feel like in that fashion journey, in a lot of our fashion journeys, we get to the point where we learn the rules and we incorporate those rules into our outfit. We get a little bit bored of these rules, and then we start to wonder, how can we actually break them? Because when we look around and we see really stylish people, we notice that, hey, like that person isn't doing the thing that everyone says to do to look more stylish. Like maybe I should explore that a little bit more. We see that the most stylish people really are not following any of these rules. But of course, to get to that point, we have to at least know the rules in the first place. But today, we're going to be talking about 5 different rules, 5 different fashion rules that need to die immediately. So let's jump into it. So the first fashion rule that I want to talk about today is dress your age. And this one for me is never really about fashion, and it's always about, control. And I want to use the recent Gucci show by Demna as my case study for this one, because there's a really, really interesting point here that I feel like a lot of people have not really addressed with regards to this show and with regards to the commentary and reactions around this show that I want to highlight a little bit. And I'll start by reading my initial review of the show. I actually wrote this review. It's a very, very short review, actually. It's not even a review, it's just like a take. But I actually wrote this take on the first day that this show came out. And it kind of really just describes my feelings around not the collection itself, but more so the reactions to the collection, which in my opinion is what Demna was actually trying to highlight for us. So I'll read my take here. Demna basically put real people on that runway, the kinds of people we all know or have seen, and then it recreated the exact same prejudice and bigotry they get in real life, just inside the metaverse. He's not inventing anything new, but he's certainly dragging some of the darkest parts of society and the human psyche into the spotlight. The reactions are ultimately proving his point in real time. The body shaming of a woman 50 plus in revealing clothes, the disgust for chavs, the fear of big guys in tight shirts. People are calling it cheap, tacky, ugly, and not luxury, as if that isn't exactly how these archetypes are treated offline too. It's a mirror and people hate what they see. Kate Moss is 52 years old, walking one of the biggest runways in the world in a backless dress with a G-string, and look at the comments. If this collection isn't your taste, that's okay, but when people criticize a woman over 50 for being too old to be sexy, what you're really saying is only young women are allowed to be desirable, beautiful, or provocative, which is very much far from the truth. And I feel like it reinforces this idea that once you hit a certain age, your desire, your confidence, and your right to feel hot are supposed to just fade into the abyss. It's like you now have to go and start wearing cardigans, beige cardigans, and like respectable hemlines, etc. And the truth is that some people just dress more provocative than others. Some people like tight, sheer, loud, quote unquote vulgar clothes. It reminds me of this era of Madonna. As soon as she got to 40, 50, there was so much criticism about what she was wearing and how she should act and how she should conduct herself as a 50-year-old woman. It's like people expect you to just be more classy and refined, not taking into account that that's just not how everyone is. Not everyone is the same. We all have different taste, and we all have different wants in terms of our personal style and how we express ourselves. If it's not liking the person's outfit, that's totally fine, that's totally fair. But if it's like criticizing that person's body or that person's shape or the person's physical features, I think that's just when it goes a little bit too far. A lot of the reviews of this Gucci collection is that it just wasn't a good collection, mainly because it was very sleazy and it was very vulgar. For me personally, refinement isn't what is always needed. Something like vulgarity exists in the eyes of the person that's looking, but it doesn't necessarily exist in the clothes themselves. When I think of what inspires me the most with regards to fashion, usually a lot of my fashion inspiration is coming from people that are older than me, people that have actually like lived life, and people that have a lot of experience, and people that have very informed perspectives, people that have seen different cultures. And a lot of the times, the only way to really see these things and to build experience, yes, you can do that through knowledge, but a lot of that just comes through like time, like the amount of time that you've been on the world, the amount of time that you've spent interacting with people. And a lot of times that will translate into a very interesting personal style. That's why I find a lot of older people's style to be a little bit more interesting, because they're also not so worried about what other people think of them and how people will react, because they're older. And I just think that the older you get, the less that you give about what other people think about what you're wearing. So dress your age is less a rule to break, but more so an idea to uninstall in your brain. Dress your curiosity, dress for the life that you actually live, and not the age that people think that you should be acting. I think one of the biggest fashion rules is always match and make sure that there's some sort of fluidity in the visuals of the outfit. You know, you don't want something to be traditionally ugly. But one of the most interesting things that I see with regards to stylish outfits or very interesting outfits or compelling outfits is when people mix like polka dots with stripes, or they mix different colored, like let's say for example you mix something lace with suede, or you mix polka dots with leopard print, or stripes with polka dots. It could be similar color stripes but just clashing patterns. When you start mixing prints, you start rewiring your idea of what's ugly and what's quote unquote wrong. And you just realize that most of it's just conditioning. You know, a striped shirt with a floral skirt suddenly feels normal to you once you've worn it a few times and you survived. I don't think every combination that you do is going to be a masterpiece and is going to be a perfect outfit, but that's really the point of personal style and developing personal style. It's a process of training your eye, and mixing prints is one of the best ways to step outside of your comfort zone and really just throw ideas out and see how it looks on your body, and just keep experimenting and just keep pushing yourself and pushing your boundaries a little bit. There's so much discourse these days about how being trendy and wearing trends makes you look like a clone and like a follower and this and this and that, and that you shouldn't follow trends, never follow trends. But it's almost becoming a thing where it's like, when someone gives fashion advice and they're like, don't follow trends, that's almost like the go-to answer. That's almost like the default answer. That's the trendiest, that's the trendiest answer, to not follow trends. But for me, trends are more like clues, and they're notes from the wider culture. The biggest trend right now is like, you know, the Carolyn Bessette Kennedy look. Everybody wants to be the clean, minimal, black and white, very simple and chic Carolyn Bessette Kennedy vibe that's trending right now. And it's like, do you really want to dress like CBK, or do you just want the life that she had? So if something's everywhere at the same time, it's usually reflecting a wider mood, or, you know, an anxiety or an escapism or a nostalgia or longing for a different time period. And with a bit of self-awareness, you can ask yourself, does this actually resonate with me? You know, does it plug into who I am, or is this just noise? And the stylish people aren't the ones who ignore every trend just based off a principle. They're the ones who can look at a trend and decide that this part of the trend is me, or this is something that I like and this part isn't, you know? And they can plug the right pieces into what they already have going on in their wardrobe. So they always kind of like look different, and their outfit always looks them, but it always still looks relevant to the time. And I think there's also people as well who dress in a way that's totally irrelevant to the current time. Some people's outfits you look at it and it looks like they've just come from the 60s, the 70s or 80s or 90s. Some people have a consistent look and a consistent way of styling themselves in terms of time periods, but then you look at some people that always look sort of like almost relevant in terms of the era that we're in, but it still looks personal to them as well. And both are okay as long as it's them and it's not someone else just because the internet said so. I have some friends that are very, very set in their style. Colors are, let's say colors are mostly black and white. You will never catch them really wearing color, and then just like one random day you'll see them wearing red and you're like, oh wow, I did not expect that at all. Or it's that person who's very anti-trend, but they bought a Labubu, you know? And it's like, the Labubu, someone will look at you and think, a Labubu, that's the most trendy thing that you can do. The most anti-trend contrarian person wearing a Labubu. It's kind of funny. It's like an inside joke, you know? I guess people that look at you will not even realize that you're so anti-trend, and they'll judge you. They might judge you for wearing a Labubu, but I guess like that's the funny part, you know, because it's like that person doesn't actually really know who you are anyways, and it's just like, it just shows you that nothing's really that deep. It's all just for fun. It's better to just do what you like and just wear whatever you like, even if it's trendy or not. Just wear it. And then it moves from, okay, like what's trending and what's not, to just making sure that it looks good and making sure that you styled it in a way that really just represents you. That's a good outfit. So no, following trends doesn't make you unstylish, but blindly following trends makes you confused, and blindly avoiding them does the exact same thing. The fourth one is white socks with black dress shoes or black trousers, because it makes you look like Michael Jackson. This is just, for me, it's just an outdated take, especially in menswear. Traditional menswear logic is white socks are only for the gym, or that you should only wear dress socks that match your trouser for more formal events. You know, more business things, more corporate things, I guess, you know, you can follow that rule and it applies. But in almost every other situation, including weddings and including casual situations, I think it can look more elegant to actually have a visible white sock that creates a deliberate break in the outfit. And that can be a statement in itself. It hints at sportswear, it gives this youth culture vibe, kind of like a mod reference, that Michael Jackson, Japanese street style sort of look. And I don't think the key is never wear white socks, but it's, does the vibe of the outfit support that contrast of a white sock, if you know what I mean? Is the shoe shape right? Is the trouser hem sitting where it needs to sit? You know, are you repeating the white somewhere else with a t-shirt or just a shirt or a stripe? When you have one irregularity in one place and I guess like everything else lines up, but it's just like that one little thing, it looks irregular, but also looks intentional if the rest of it is like you've got the perfectly tailored outfit and the trousers sit perfectly and you've got a really, really nice quality shoe. It can actually look great. My fifth fashion rule that we need to break immediately is clothes reserved for special occasions. Listen, for me, the special occasion is every single day. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like today is the special occasion. Tomorrow is the special occasion. For me anyways, and I think a lot of people can relate to this as well. My parents, for example, were very much, you know, you have these clothes specifically for Sunday only, or these clothes are for just special occasions with like out with other family, friends, or whatever it may be. This idea of having special occasion clothes is embedded into you from childhood. And then you grow up and you take this with you and you're like, oh no, these clothes, no, I'm not wearing this. This stays in the bag and this stays in the box and this doesn't get touched. I don't know about you guys, but I want to have a closet. My goal is to have a closet where all my pieces are special occasion pieces. So I can't not wear something because it's supposed to be special. And I guess, yes, there's more sentimental pieces that I will wear if I want to invoke a certain feeling on a certain day and for a certain event. Yeah, for sure, I will have that. But for the majority of my closet, I'm not really trying to have special occasion pieces because, like I said, every day is a special occasion. Nothing is promised. So this is special right now. For anyone who lives in a small town, it's probably a little bit more nuanced because wearing special clothes, wearing special, like this concept doesn't fly at all. In places where fashion is a lot more homogenous, you're not gonna go to the grocery store wearing a suit and a tie. You're probably just not gonna do it realistically. So I guess in that way, it doesn't really apply. But I mean, being more aware that you don't have to save your clothes, even if it's those new pairs of shoes that you just bought, just wear them. Just live life in abundance. Just be a little bit more delusional, especially for those random days when you don't feel your best or you feel a little bit off. I feel like those are the perfect days to bring out some of your best clothes. When you really think about it, like, what is the purpose of fashion? It's to not just communicate to people, but also to feel good and make us feel better. So if you've spent money on those things that you really like, wear them on the days that you don't feel great to boost your mood. It's almost like going to get your hair done to reignite yourself a little bit and to give yourself that boost, you know? So guys, that is my list of fashion rules that need to die immediately. We got a little bit feisty in the beginning. It was a little bit fiery. I had to address some things there in the beginning, but I hope I gave you guys some ideas of some other things that you can incorporate into your style as well that might help. There's also some other things I didn't mention, so drop it in the comments. I read all the comments, guys. You know, I'm always reading. I'm not like, oh, comment and I don't read it. I actually read the comments. So whether it's mean or positive, or just drop it in there. Subscribe as well. Thank you guys so much for all of your support, and I'll see you guys in the next video. All the best.